Hello students, in this video we'll be discussing about the standard 10 computer application question paper. What are the correct answers to it? So let's start with section A that deals with your theory part. So the first question is, what role do logical operators play in if statement? Now logical operators are used when there are more than one relational expression needs to be evaluated in a Java statement. It always gives the output in Boolean data type. It is categorized as AND or and not. So over here, the role of logical operator is to link two relational expressions in an if statement and to give the result in Boolean data type. So these are two basic important points that you need to write to get 2 marks. Next we come to the next question. Name the Java punctuators. Which punctuator is called terminator? Now, punctuators are punctuation signs used as special characters in Java. Now, some common punctuators are question mark, dot, and semicolon. And a terminator, semicolon is called terminator because when we write semicolon, it means the end of a statement. So, semicolon is a terminator. Now, many children get confused and they write curly brackets and round bracket and square brackets, but these are not punctuators. Curly bracket, round bracket, and square bracket are called as separators. So you need to remember Java punctuators are question mark, dot, and semicolon, and the semicolon is also called terminator because it marks the end of a Java statement. Next question is the difference between null loop and infinite loop. Now, null loop definition is it doesn't contain any statement to repeat. Now, the in comparison, the infinite loop repeats execution of the statement for endless iteration. So these are the two basic operation differences. And the example of null loop, you can either write a for statement with empty body, or you can also write, you can remove these and you can simply write over here semicolon. So it will also mean this is a null loop. Null loop means it doesn't contain any statement to repeat. Whereas in comparison example of infinite loop is a Java for statement in which the test expression is always true. Like you can see for int I initialized to 10, I greater than equals to 1 and I plus plus. So all this will go on continuously. Now you need to remember the difference of 2 point doesn't mean two differences, two differences. It is two comparative differences. Here you can see one is the operation I have written. The difference doesn't contain any statement to repeat in the loop. Infinite loop repeats execution of the statement for endless iteration. That goes for 1 mark. Example of null loop and infinite loop gives you 1 more mark. We come to the next question. State two features of constructors. Now, a constructor is a special member method with the same name as its class and is used to initialize the data members of that class with their legal initial values. These are the two features I've written. More than that, you can also write that it doesn't return any value, so it doesn't have any return data type. Void is used because it doesn't return any data type. It cannot be inherited. So you need to write two basic features of constructor, whatever you remember. So 2 points, 2 marks. So what are the return type of the following Java method? The next question. Read line is used to accept a sentence from the user. So it will be stored in a string variable. So the return type is string. Mat.ring, the return type is always double, that you need to know, and mat.round, the return type is int or long. Now int may look like integer, but it gives the return type in double format, whereas mat.round gives you the result in integer or long format. Next long, same thing, accepts a value from the user, a long data type value, so its return type is also long. So need to be thorough with the math library functions and also the different types of values accepting functions. So you can, this is an important question in ICSE which usually comes. Now what is the difference between searching and sorting? Again, when we come to difference, you can see two basic comparative differences. First is the definition of sorting and searching. Sorting means to arrange the elements of the array in ascending or descending order, whereas searching means to search for a term or value in an array. You don't have to elaborate, write simply the working or the description. And then examples. Sorting example is bubble sort and selection sort. And searching example is linear search or binary search. So over here, 2 points of differences gives you 2 marks. Then we come to write the Java statement for each of the following. The first question is to display the square root of the last digit of a number. Mat.sqrt n mod 10. N mod 10 gives you the last digit of a number. As you know, modulo stands for remainder. So when you divide a number by 10, the remainder is always the last digit. Math.sqrt, math function I'm using. So you write it correct. You don't have to write the whole logic of the program. You only have to write this particular part of the statement. So you get 1 mark over there. To take a word as input and store it in a variable, you need to first take a variable initialized with string w equals to s dot next. Now remember, next is used to accept a word, next line is used to accept a sentence. Both are of string data type. So that gives you 1 mark also. What are the type of casting shown by the following example? So double x equals to 15.2, integer y equals to int in bracket x. Now int in bracket is a cast operator. Why I'm using a cast operator? Because I'm converting from a higher data type double. Double is of higher data type to a lower data type int. So forcible conversion is there with the help of cast operator. So it's an example of quotient or explicit. Whereas int x is of lower data type. Long y when I'm storing the variable x, the compiler itself will do the conversion from lower to higher. So it's a example of typecasting or implicit. So you write the examples clearly. The correct answers you get 1 for each question. That is 2 marks. Next we come to, this is an array based question. Now you can see integer n is an integer array and it has got several values. 8 values are there. But you need to remember in array the index starts with 0. So over here when I write what are the value of x and y, x equals to mat.power function n index 4 comma n index 2. So it means the value in the fourth index to the power n, the value in the second index. Now remember, since the over here as we will be, you can see here the index is 0. Here the index is 0. Then for 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see in red color I'm writing the index value. Sorry, I missed out on 2 over here. 1, 2, 3, 4th index. This is the 5th index. This is the 6th index. And this is my 7th index. There are 8 values, but you can see based on the index, I am getting till index 7 because the index starts from 0. Now, in red color is my index values. So now, what is the value in index 4? The value is 7 to the power. What is the value in index 3? To the power 3. So I get 343. So since it gives the answer in double data type, so it will have, we have to write 343.0. Now you need to remember, if you write only 343, you get half mark. Out of 1, you get half mark. If you write 0.0, that means that you have mentioned it is of double data type. So both you have to be careful about the result as well as about the proper index of the data type. Same way math.sqrt, n index 5. In 5th index, I have value 9 plus value in 7th index, that is 16. So 9 plus 16 gives me 25. Square root will give me 5.0. Same thing, it returns in double data type. So 0.0 needs to be mentioned. So 1 mark you get over here. Now we come to our question number 8. This is a question involving your post increment. Yes, pre-increment. Sorry, I correct myself. It involves shorthand operator. Then we have pre-increment. Then we have post-increment, and then we have pre-decrement. So as per the shorthand operator, the value in the left hand side is added to the value in the right hand side. You can see the right hand side value I have put in the bracket. So the original value of y8 will come. After that, within the bracket, first when the pre-increment happens, value of 8 increases to 9. Then we have the post decrement. So the value continues to be 9. After that, it's reduced to 8. And after that, again when it reduces pre-decrement, it reduces from 8 to 7. So 7 will remain. So I get 9 plus 9 plus 7 is 25. Added to the original value 8, I get the result 33. So over here, this is the end of section A. Now we go for our section B question, which involves programming. Since it was an exam of 50 marks, your each program is of 10 marks. Okay, so we continue. Now section B, the first question you have is define a class Spark as described below. Now you have to be very clear in these kind of questions. You have to follow the instructions very clearly. It says the first thing, define a class Spark. So the name of the class has to be Spark. You can see it says over here that the name of the class should be Spark. So I have defined my program. In the right hand side, you can see my program. The name of the class is Spark. Now, data members or instance variable. Since it says data members or instance variable, the variable should be initialized out of all the programs that is being used. That is within the class, but out of all the functions that are there part of the program. Now, so you can see it says very clearly that the entry fee will be of double data type. You can see over here double entry fee. Then it says age should be of integer data type, discount should be of double data type, and your amount should be of double data type. So you can see all the four I have initialized, sorry, I have declared. Now I have declared over here. So there's a difference between declaration and initialization. Declaration, you specify the data type the variables belong to. So these are my instance variable because they are declared out of all the functions that are being used, and I have also specified the data type as mentioned in the question. Now it says member methods. Now we come to member methods. First is constructor to initialize member data to default value. So this is my constructor. As you know, the constructor name should be same as the class name. So the name of the constructor is also Spark. Default value of integer is 0, of double is 0.0. So I have initialized age to 0 and entry fee, discount and amount to 0.0. Then it comes to the next part, void input. X input values of data members entry fee and age. So only two values we need to enter. Since I'm entering age is of integer data type, so I use sc.nextInt. I hope you remember for accepting values from the user we need to use scanner class. So first you can see on the top I have already mentioned import java.util.string. Within this, create an object of the scanner class, scanner sc equals to new scanner system.in. After that, using that object, nextInt accept the age of the person, and next double using accept the entry fee. After that, so my input function is also done. Now we come to calculate. Calculate, you can see few tabulations has been given. We have to follow few table, that is if the age is less than 12, then the discount percent is 45%. So I write if age less than equals to 12, discount equals to 0.45 of entry fee. So directly I'm mentioning over here 0.45 because 45% is 45 by 100, which will give me 0.45. Next tabulation is if it is greater than equals to 50. So for this if I write else, and again I write if age is greater than equals to 50, discount will be 50%, that is 0.5 into entry fee. Otherwise, so I write else discount equals to 0.1 because it's 10% discount, so 0.1 into entry fee, and then to get the amount deduct the discount from the entry fee. So my part of calculate function is also written. Next we come to the display method. Now in the display method, so you can see as per the question, as it says my return type is also void, and then I come to my display function. In display, I am displaying, it says to display the member data. The member data are age, discount, amount, and entry fee. So all the four values I'm displaying over here. Then we come, write a main method to create an object of class Park. So this is very important. It says that you need to create an object of class Park and call the above member methods. So I've created an object OP over here of the park using my new operator. Then how am I calling the methods? Already when you write new park, when you create an object, the constructor park is called. After that, for the other for the other member methods, I'm using object dot member method name, input bracket, object dot calculate bracket, ob dot display bracket. So this is my main method I have called. So now you can see this. When I compile, I no syntax error, and then you can get the output accordingly. For this variable description, you need to, or as it's already specified, it's very simple for you. You need to only write the name of the variable and the data types. So we come to, and the functions. We come to the next question. Our next question is bubble sort method. Arrange the values in bubble sort descending order method. Now you can see here it's very important. It already says write a program to store 15, 19, 48, 59, all the values is given in an array. So you need not accept any values from the user. Directly you need to store the values only. Simply store the values in the array. So there is no need of accepting any value from the user, because the question itself says that write a program to store 15, 19, 48, etc. in an array. After that only you need to sort using the descending order bubble sort method. Like for bubble sort method, the sorting starts from the last part. So for that reason you can see, as you know the method, this is the bubble sort. I think while teaching array, the teachers might have told you how to solve the bubble sort. This is the method. This is for the outer loop. The array goes till length minus 1, but for the inner loop it will be length of the array minus I minus 1, as the sorting starts on the end. After that, comparing if the previous value is less than the next value, so the swapping will be done. So in descending order, we are sending the smallest value. If the smallest value is there in the first, it will be pushed off to the last portion. How I'm doing it? By using a temporary operator, I'm swapping the values and sending it towards the back. After the process of swapping is done, sorting is done, then you simply need to print it with the help of a for loop and print. So this is the method. You need not worry about inputting over here input, because the statement if you write, it's enough, because you need to accept, you need to only store the values in the array, and then you need to work on the sorting and display. That is the question what it asks for. So if you write this much, you get, and as usual for the variable description, you need to specify AR. R stands for an integer array to store 10 values so and so. I is for the outer loop, J is for the inner loop, T is a temporary variable. So you need to write the variable description with a sample output if you can, not required. Then we come to write a menu driven program to execute any of the following tasks as per user choice. So we come to the next question. Now here you can see menu driven program means I am going to use my switch case. Menu driven is the other name for switch case, already mentioned over here. Two parts are there, two cases are there. First is you need to accept a number and check and display whether it's a SPY number or not. SPY number example also given 1124. You can see when you add the sum of the digits, it gives you 8. 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 4 is 8. When you multiply the digits also, it gives you 8. So first in the program, as usual, since I'll be accepting values from the user, I need to use scanner class. So I'll be accepting util package, I'll be importing. After I mention the class name, the method name. Here it's not mandatory that you need to specify. The name can be main. So it's no restriction what is the name of the class and the method. You can use your own choice. After that, I'm initializing a scanner object so that I can accept values. Then I'm prompting to the user the menu that 1 stands for spy check, 2 stands for super 6 number, prompting the user to enter your choice. Choice is an entry which I'll be storing in my variable ch, which is of integer data type. After that, switch ch as per your syntax. Case 1 contains the logic of spy number, that is, you can see you accept a number, store it in variable a. After that, s variable I'm using to store the sum of the digits, p to have the product of the digits. Now you need to remember sum should be initialized to 0, product to 1. Otherwise, if you have product 0, anything multiplied to 0 will give you the result 0. So p has to be 1. D equals to 0, it's for the extracting one or digit. So here you can see d equals to a mod 10. I am extracting digits, and then I'm extracting the digits a mod 10. After that, this is sum of digit, and similar way p stands for product of digit, and and a equals to a button is the remaining numbers that will be there. So using while loop, it will be repeatedly continued till the number becomes 0. So over here, I'll get all the sum of all the digits and the product of the digits also. After that, when the all the digits are extracted, I compare that if the sum is equal to the product, then it's a spy number, else it is not a spy number. Break to avoid fall through. I'm writing break after the entire logic is over. Case 2 we come, it is true. Now case 2 you have to be very careful. It says many of you are missing out. Input any number having 2 digits. Now you need to check for 2 digits. That is why first I'm checking if a is greater than or equal to 10. That means it's a 2 digit or more than that. It's not a single digit. Then I enter into the logic to check if the number is super 6 or not. How do I check? If it has at least 2 or more sixes. So for that reason, again same thing. I am extracting the digits over here. Then I am checking if the digit is so d equals to a mod 10 stands for extracting of digits. After that, I am comparing if the digit is equal to 6 or not. So if it is 6, then the counter will increase every time. So I get to know how many 6 digits is present. A equals to a by 10 as usual remaining number. Then if d is greater than or equal to 2, that means if more than 2 sixes are there, then it's a super 6 number, else not super 6 number. Similar thing after that you write break to avoid fall through. Last default. If none of the cases 1 and 2 the user has entered, then it will show invalid choice. The program will not end abruptly, as you know the logic of default is. So here again, let us recapitulate. Since it's a switch case question, I prompt the user the menu, then the user enters the choice. After that, case 1 has the logic of spy number, case 2 has the logic of super 6 number, and default if none of the cases are matching. In that case, we come to our last question. Our last question is question of function overloading. Let's solve it now. So in a function overloading, the name of the function name should be same. Now here you can say both the names are same as display, but there's a difference in the parameter list of function signature, where the first function has got one variable to be passed. It has one variable to be passed, but the second display doesn't require any value to be passed. So the first function logic is 2, 7, 17, 37, 77, 157 up to n terms. That is why I've taken I equals to 1, I less than equals to n. It prints the value of s. Now here you can see like the logic goes as s equals to 2. After that 2 into 2 plus 3 will give me 7. After that same thing, 7 into 2, that is 14, plus 3 will give me 17. So this process goes on. After that 17 into 2 plus 3 will give me 37. So the process goes on. So I am writing s equals to s into 2 plus 3. After that this value, this format has to be displayed. No value is being passed. This part formatting is over here. Now for the formatting, I take the row value to be from 5 to, you can see the row value is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because in the middle you can see that is why I starts with 5 and it goes on in a decreasing way, stepping one value, it goes till 1. After that, within that, this is one part and this is another part. You can see now in this formatting question, this question is one part. You can see I'm displaying, and the whiter section is the second part. So this is the first J loop, and instead of having many loops, I'm using only one common I loop, and then I'm using my 2J loop. So one J loop is for the first J loop is for the red color shaded part. The second J loop is the remaining white color part. So it will go from 1 till the value of I. When I is 5, it will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I reduces to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, it goes on. And the second part goes from I minus 1. Since I is 5 minus 1, it will go from 4 decreasing to 1. When I is 4, it will start from 3, go up till 1. In that method, it goes on decreasing. System.out.println, after every two rows and two loops are printed, after that the cursor will come to the second line. So now since I have called I'm using function overloading, so you can see in the main function I'm accepting the value n, creating an object. When calling the display method in one, I am not passing any value, but in the second one I'm passing value. So the same thing, now you have to write the variable description ing. You can write differentiating that in the first loop it is I goes from 1 till n, so it is for the number of terms it has. Then in the second function, I stands for the row, j stands for the column. So thank you, hope you understand the question paper.